I didn't realize my husband wanted a baby for his performance review. Until the night. He told me we should split the mortgage. In 50, 2 months after our daughter was born, and 3 weeks after he got a shiny promotion for being, in his words, a family man. I'm writing this from my parents' guest room in Boise, Idaho, with a suitcase still half unzipped at the foot of the bed, so I'm skipping ahead. Let me back up. I met Jason in Portland, Oregon when I was 27 and running on espresso and ambition. I worked in project management for a mid-sized outdoor gear company. I loved my color-coded timelines and the thrill of watching something move from idea to store shelf. Jason was in sales at a software company across the river. He had that golden retriever energy, wide smile, easy laugh, an ability to make strangers share their life stories within 5 minutes. He remembered the barista's dog's name the second time we stopped at the cafe on Alberta. He remembered my manager's birthday before I did. He remembered everything. We moved in together after a year. Got married a year after that at a tiny winery near Hood River. The vows were the Pinterest kind, but still made my mom cry. We were happy. I won't rewrite that. We did Sunday farmers markets, took photos of our dinners like we were getting graded, and planned a national parks road trip we never took. When the baby question came up, we had the same conversation every couple of months. Not yet, I'd say, stacking our ceramic plates like precious artifacts. I just got bumped up to lead on the fall campaign. If I nail this, I can ask for a title change. Jason would lean in the doorway and twirl a dish towel around his finger. We're not getting younger, Em. I'm 30, I'd say, half laughing. That's not fossil years, he'd grin. I want a family. I want a little person to build Lego sets with. I want to be the dad cheering at soccer games. And I want health insurance that doesn't treat maternity like an add-on. I'd shoot back, but gently. Give me a year. Maybe less. It became a rhythm. Him, hopeful. Me, cautious. And then one night, about a year later, Jason came home electric with adrenaline. He tossed his keys in the dish by the door and practically bounced. "You're looking at future senior account director," he said, like a kid unwrapping a secret. "Future," I teased. "Future is doing a lot of heavy lifting there." He lifted me up, spun me once so quickly I had to grab his shoulders. Mr. Patel called me into his office after the client presentation. He said, his exact words, "Jason, you have a presence clients trust. You don't overpromise. You're steady. That's amazing." I kissed his cheek. "You are steady. You've always been steady." He set me down, eyes bright. They're big on culture fit. Family, stability. We talked about our long-term plans, and it came up that we're married with no kids. He's very, traditional. Traditional isn't a personality, I muttered, but I knew what he meant. Mr. Patel was the kind of boss who scheduled potlucks and posted photos of his kids with captions like, "My why." Jason exhaled. "I don't want to pressure you. I think it would help. And honestly, I'm ready. I'll handle night feedings. I'll take FMLA. You can keep running your projects. We'll be a team. Say the word, and I'm there." I remember how sincere he looked, hands warm around mine, promises tumbling over each other like they were racing to convince me. The fear I carried, of becoming someone's mom before I finished being myself, softened at the edges. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that our marriage could hold all of it. My career, his ambitions, a baby's needs, our love. We started trying. It happened faster than I expected. 2 pink lines the week before Thanksgiving. Jason cried. He pressed his forehead to my belly when I was only 5 weeks along and said, "Hey, kiddo. Your dad has been waiting a long time." The first trimester was nausea and saltine crackers, and pretending I wasn't counting the minutes until each meeting ended so I could lie down. Jason brought me ginger tea, stocked the pantry with the crackers I liked, rubbed my back when I hovered over the toilet. He was there and present in all the ways that make a pregnancy feel safe. At 12 weeks, when we heard the heartbeat, a sound like a hummingbird trapped in a jar, he squeezed my hand so hard my fingers ached and whispered, "Our daughter." We didn't know it was a girl yet, but he said it like a fact. It turned out to be one. The second trimester passed in a blur of cravings and spreadsheets. I pushed through the spring campaign, presenting in stretchy black dresses and pretending my ankles weren't wishing for retirement. Jason bought tiny onesies that said, "Best Dads, Team, and Future Coder." He set calendar reminders, labeled night feed and bottle duty, as if building a spreadsheet of intentions could guarantee reality. "Promise," he'd say when I raised an eyebrow at the reminders. "Promise I'm not just playing house. I'm in this." "Okay," I'd say, and I meant it. "Team, remember?" Then came the birth. I won't turn this into a medical blow-by-blow, but it was 20 hours long and left me feeling like my bones had learned new names for pain. Jason held my hand. He cried when Lily arrived, swallowed by a pink knit hat and outrage. He cut the cord. He told me I was incredible and brave, and that he had never loved me more. And then Lily cried for most of the next 3 nights, and our promises started to wear thin like the label on Jason's favorite hoodie. "I have a client call at 8, he'd say at 2 in the morning, when Lily's cries hit a pitch that made the window glass vibrate. "I'll be useless if I don't sleep." "I haven't slept," I'd whisper, half laughing because the alternative was drowning. "She's done this every night." "I'll take the next one," he'd say, rolling away. I swear, he slept through the next one. And the next. The first weeks blurred into each other, days measured by diapers and the ache in my spine from rocking. Jason was charming at 10 in the morning, when Lily was sweeter and quiet. He'd prop her on his knees and do commentary like a sportscaster. "Strong kick from Lily Carter. That's a future midfielder." He'd take selfies, her pink cheeks, his cheek pressed against hers, and send them to his office Slack with captions like, "Morning warm-up with the MVP." Co-workers flooded the thread with heart emojis. Mr. Patel commented, "Best team you'll ever lead." By afternoon, Jason was slammed, and by evening he was fried. He'd hold her for 5 minutes, maybe 10, and then wander to his phone. "She likes you," I'd say, offering Lily when my arms trembled. "Just keep her upright. She might spit up." "She always spits up on me," he'd complain. But he'd take her. 2 minutes later, I'd hear, "She's fussy," like I was customer service for our baby. I'd take Lily back because the alternative was listening to her escalate while he scrolled headlines with one hand. 3 weeks in, he got the promotion. He texted me the news with emojis and exclamation points, then called from the parking garage with his voice echoing and triumphant. "You're talking to Senior Account Director Jason Carter," he said. "Congrats," I breathed, swaying with Lily in the carrier. She squirmed and head-butted my sternum, hunting for milk. "That's huge. And, get this, Mr. Patel said I'm the kind of man who leads because he's anchored. He said, you show up for your team the way you show up for your family." He gets it. Finally, someone who gets it. I looked down at the milk spots drying on my shirt, the stack of unpaid leave forms on the kitchen table, my Slack notifications buzzing about a timeline I used to run without breaking a sweat. "Yeah," I said quietly. "He gets it." Jason brought home a bottle of champagne he forgot I couldn't drink. He kissed Lily's forehead and posted a photo of all 3 of us on Instagram with the caption, "Everything I do is for them." The likes rolled in. So did the comments. "Dad of the year. This is leadership." The next morning at 4 a.m., Lily screamed like she was singing a tiny metal song, and I cried into her hair because I couldn't make my body do anything but pick her up and sway. Pick her up and sway, pick her up and sway. I tried to keep my job remote as long as I could. My manager was kind but firm. "We value you," she said on a video call while I bounced in a sweatshirt with spit up on the shoulder. "But deadlines don't wait for nap schedules." "I can do it," I lied. "I'll make it work." The next week, Lily got a fever. The week after that, she decided sleep was a rumor. I used up my vacation days on pediatrician visits, and hours where I stared at a blank screen while Lily hiccuped on my chest. Human Resources sent me a white glove email about transitioning with grace, which made me want to throw my laptop across the room. Meanwhile, Jason started coming home later. When he was home, he'd say things like, "The team is crushed with Q2, and clients a nightmare, and I'm carrying everyone, babe." "Can you carry the baby for 20 minutes? I asked one evening, voice frayed. "I need to shower." He glanced from Lily to his phone. She only wants you, he said. You're the mom. That doesn't mean you're a guest, I said, and I heard my voice harden in a way that scared me. You are the other parent, he rolled his eyes. Can you not make everything a fight? I just got home. It kept getting worse in ways that were mundane and therefore devastating. He'd grab Lily for a minute while I microwaved leftovers, then hand her back as if passing a pamphlet he never intended to read. He'd linger in the doorway when I started laundry like he was supervising. He started noticing my hair in an unkind way. You used to do that thing, he said one Tuesday, gesturing vaguely at my head. Like waves? You mean curling my hair? I asked, trying to keep my voice even while Lily hiccuped against my shoulder. With a hot tool I'm terrified to use when I haven't slept more than 2 hours in a row for weeks? He shrugged. I'm just saying, you've let yourself go a little. I miss you. I miss me too, I said, and the words surprised me with their own truth. But Lily didn't invent herself. We made her. I need a partner. He gave a humorless laugh. I'm the one out there making sure there's a house to live in. You're the one who wanted to stay home. I wanted to keep my job, I said quietly, feeling the words plunk down between us like stones. I left because you promised we'd be a team, and then you left me alone with everything. He smirked, and I saw something new in his face. Coldness, or maybe just the absence of warmth. You're being dramatic. Plenty of moms handle it without complaining. Plenty of dads help, I snapped. He looked at me like I was speaking a language he didn't care to learn. Then, 2 days later, the argument that stripped us down to the bone. He walked in, loosened his tie, and said, almost casually, "This isn't working for me. We're going to do 50-50. I laughed because I thought he meant chores. Great. Finally. Not chores. He tossed a white paper envelope onto the counter, a printout from our joint account with circles around a few grocery trips and a baby carrier I'd ordered. Everything. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, we split it. I don't have an income, I said. My voice small because I was calculating diapers and the last of my personal savings and how expensive everything looks when you measure it against fear. He leaned against the island. That's not my problem. I left my job because you wanted a baby now, I said, heat rising up my neck. Because you promised you'd take the night shift and the early mornings and the midday fussiness and all the parts in between. Because you said I could keep my projects, he shrugged. Plans change. You're the mom. That's on you. Something inside me cooled, like water poured over a hot pan. I think it was the part of me that kept waiting for the version of him who made tea and rubbed my back at 8 weeks. I set Lily in her bouncer and looked at him. You're saying you won't contribute more than half to support your child? I'll pay half, he said, annoyed that I didn't understand what he thought was reasonable. You pay half. I'm not an ATM. I pay in hours, I whispered. In nights and days and lost chances. In my body. In my career. You pay half and call it equity? I swallowed. Okay, he blinked. Okay, what? Okay, I hear you, I said, and I did. Not just the words, but the logic underneath them. He wanted the badge of fatherhood, the Instagram captions, the nods in corridors from a boss who loved dads. He did not want the work. He thought my work didn't count. That night, while he watched SportsCenter in the living room with the sound low, I stood in the nursery and cried without making a sound because I didn't want to start another argument. I held Lily's tiny foot between my fingers, stunned by how small and perfect it was. I can't teach you that this is love, I whispered to her. I won't. The next morning, after Jason left early with a travel mug and a big meeting, I called my mom. She picked up on the second ring. Sweetheart, she said. My mom answers the phone like you're already mid-conversation. Can I come home? I asked. My voice cracked on the last word. Just for a while. My dad was on speaker within a minute. What happened? He asked, and I heard the way his voice shifted from weekend soft to something sharp. I told them everything. Not the curated version I'd posted, where we were all smiling in good lighting, but the 4 a.m. dissolving parts. I told them about the 50-50 speech. I told them about the promotion that tasted like ash. Say the word, my dad said when I ran out of sentences. I'm getting in the truck. Dad, it's a 9-hour drive, I said, automatically doing the math. So? He said. I'll get coffee and a podcast. My mom's voice gentled. We have the guest room ready. There's fresh sheets. Come home, honey. It's funny how quickly a decision can settle in your bones once you let it. Today, I said. If you can. He's out until 6. We'll be there by 4, Dad said, like he could bend time. I spent the hours standing and sitting and standing, packing what felt both too much and not enough. Diapers, onesies, a binder with Lily's pediatrician notes, the framed photo from our wedding I took out of habit and then put back. I moved through the house like it was a museum exhibit about a life I used to live. In the bedroom, I paused at Jason's nightstand, the book he wasn't reading, the phone charger, the cufflinks he wore to the promotion meeting, and a wave of grief hit me so hard I had to sit down. We had been happy. There were entire months I wouldn't trade for anything, but happiness isn't a receipt you present to get out of harm. At 3:50 p.m., a truck I recognized from 1,000 childhood road trips pulled up to the curb. My dad stepped out, taller than I remembered because he looked like a wall. He saw Lily in my arms and softened instantly. There she is, he whispered, taking her with the instinct of someone who has done this before. Hi, Lilybug. My mom kissed my face and then pulled back to look at me the way moms do when they're checking for fractures you can't see. Let's get you home. We worked fast. Dad loaded suitcases and boxes. I strapped Lily into her car seat and tucked her favorite soft giraffe into the corner. I wrote a note because I didn't want to vanish without a word. I don't remember exactly what I wrote. Something like, we're safe. We're going to my parents. Don't come tonight. We'll talk when we're ready. Before we pulled away, my dad stood on the sidewalk and typed something on his phone with his jaw clenched. He looked at me. Do you want to see it? I didn't. Just say what you need to say. He nodded. Later, he told me the message he sent to Jason was measured only because he typed it 3 times. It said, Today you lost a wife and a daughter. You did that. If you attempt to intimidate or corner my daughter, I will use every legal means available to make sure you lose more than you imagined you could. Grow up. Be a father. Or step aside. On the drive, Lily slept. The sky over the gorge was a flat, forgiving gray, and I finally let myself breathe so deep it hurt. My mom kept her hand on my knee most of the way, like she was reminding me I was anchored to something that wouldn't let me drift. My phone buzzed 12 times in the first hour with Jason's texts. Where are you? What is this? Are you serious? We need to talk. Then, you're overreacting. Then, when I didn't answer, you're kidnapping my child. My stomach lurched. I handed the phone to my mom. She slid it into her purse like it was a piece of bad fruit. Later, she said. Everything is later. We got to Boise close to midnight. My parents' house smelled like lemon cleaner and laundry, and the stew my mom always makes too much of. My dad carried Lily's car seat in like it was a holy thing. We set up the travel crib in the guest room, and Lily, miraculous creature that she is, slept through the transfer. I showered for too long, stood under hot water until my skin blushed. When I came out, my mom had laid out a cotton nightgown and folded back the quilt on the bed, like I was a guest in a gentle hotel. I sat on the edge of the mattress and felt the day finally land. My dad knocked and cracked the door. I texted him again, he said. I told him if he shows up here, he'll be meeting the police. Thanks, Dad, I said, and my voice sounded like it was coming from the bottom of a well. He started to say something else, then stopped. He looked at me like he was trying to memorize my face from when I was 8 and scraped my knee, and from when I was 18 and thought leaving for college meant I'd never be held again. You did the hard right thing, he said finally. Sleep. Tomorrow we make a plan. I lay down, but sleep didn't come quickly. I stared at the ceiling fan and thought about promises. How easy they are to make when the person you love is smiling in golden light. How heavy they are at 4 a.m. with a screaming newborn. I thought about the version of me who had believed a calendar reminder labeled night feed could stand in for accountability. I thought about my daughter's tiny hand wrapped around my finger like an anchor line. When I did sleep, I dreamed of our old house and the sound Lily makes when she's almost laughing. I woke up to early daylight and the smell of coffee, and in that strange, bright quiet, I knew 2 things with a certainty that didn't wobble. I was done asking to be helped in a house where help was a favor, and we weren't going back. At 8 a.m., my dad slid a legal pad and a pen across the kitchen table. "All right," he said. "Let's talk to a lawyer." I reached for the pen with a hand that shook slightly. Lily rustled in her bouncer, kicked her feet once, and looked at me with eyes that were too big for her face. "Good morning," I whispered. "We're going to be okay." My phone buzzed again with a new message from Jason, and this time I opened it. It said, "You've made your point. Come home so we can talk like adults." I typed, then erased, then typed again. "We'll talk," I wrote back. Through lawyers, 3 dots pulsed, then disappeared. 3 more, then nothing. The silence felt like a river I'd finally stopped trying to swim upstream. My mom set a plate of toast in front of me and sat down. "We'll help with Lily," she said. "You can shower, nap, look for work. We'll figure out daycare when it's time." The gratitude was a physical thing, a weight that felt like being held. "I'll pay you back," I said. "I have some savings." "You'll pay it forward," my dad said. "That's how this works." I nodded. My chest hurt, but in a new way, like a bruise that will eventually fade. I picked up the pen. We started a list: lawyer, pediatrician transfer, bank account, rental options. I added a line at the bottom, "Find myself again," and underlined it twice. When Lily fussed, I lifted her and felt that old instinct kick in, sway, hum, breathe. She settled quickly, tucking her face into the space below my collarbone. I pressed my cheek to her soft hair and thought, we're writing a different story now. It won't be neat, but it will be ours. By noon, I'd left a message with a family law attorney. By 2, we had a call on the books. By evening, my mom and I had washed every baby bottle while my dad assembled a secondhand bouncer he'd bought from a neighbor in the time it took me to feed Lily. Jason texted again around 6. "Mr. Patel wants to know how you are," he wrote. "He says family is everything. He says he understands how hard the newborn phase is." I stared at the screen so long it went dark. I thought of all the times Jason posed with Lily for 10 minutes and turned it into a full day in the office narrative. I thought about the morning huddles where he made our life a bullet point that earned him nods. "Tell him I said hi," I wrote back, "and that we're safe." I didn't hit send. I deleted the message and put the phone face down. There would be time later to figure out who needed to know what. For now, we were here. Lily slept between us in the bassinet my parents had pulled from storage and cleaned until it gleamed. The house smelled like stew again, and lemon, and something else. Relief, maybe, if that had a scent. I settled into the couch beside my mom. "Remember when you used to make those little lists for me before the first day of school?" I asked. "Backpack, lunch, courage." She smiled. "You never needed the list," she said. "You just liked crossing things off." "I like crossing things off," I said. "Tomorrow I'll cross off hire a lawyer. And then?" "I don't know. That's enough," she said. "Tomorrow is enough." I looked at Lily and at the legal pad with its small, new handwriting, and at my dad snoring quietly in his chair with a parenting book from 1992 open on his chest as if it were a talisman. The hurt was still there, a red seam along everything, but beneath it, steady, surprising, was a kind of calm. I didn't know what the next day would bring. I only knew that I had stepped out of a house where love was conditional on my silence, and into a place where help did not require an invoice. I tucked the blanket around Lily's legs and whispered, "We're going to build something better." And for the first time in weeks, I believed myself.